Taram, welcome, good morning, and welcome to another program in the series Addiction and Recovery. I'm your host, Ram Naresh Dwarika, and I will be taking you through a very interesting and informative program this morning. I want to let you know that this program is being recorded and it will be posted soon after its completion this morning on Facebook and YouTube. It will also be repeated on radio and TV Jagriti at 10 p.m. tonight. So those of you who can't stay for the whole program, you can always come back and listen to it. And you can place your comments on Facebook or YouTube, and I will respond to them. Of course, you have numbers on the screen that you can text me or call after the program, and I'll be happy to respond to any questions or queries you may have. Today's program is especially important because it deals with Carnival. You know, Carnival is next week on the 16th and 17th. And the title of this program is A Carnival Without Consequences. I want to talk about preventing drug-related problems during Carnival in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm sure the entire population here would be interested in this. Now, Carnival is our greatest cultural celebration, or at least one of them. It is a time of joy, freedom, music. There's a lot of movement and color. There's a lot of community getting together and so on, the pan community, the calypso community, the various, even the soca chutney communities and so on. But every year, alongside the celebration, we also have the question after Carnival where there's issues relating to drug overdoses during Carnival, alcohol-related emergencies. There's also people being arrested for misbehavior, for violence, for aggression, and for drug use. There's also, of course, hospitalizations. And as I say that, you know, you remember we every year it comes up what is now labeled as carnival babies. You'll see them coming later in the year, 9 months from February. And you have situations where lives are permanently altered in a moment, you know, so that to my mind, this is very important and in context with where we are as a society this morning, because I know I myself have been looking at the various portrayals. Last night was the Junior King and Queen finals and the semifinals for the King's competition and so on. And there's programs every night and so on. This morning on radio and television, you have so many advertisements going out about the various programs that are there. And so today's program is not about judgment. I know there's a lot in the media about the way people dressing and all of those things. I'm not going to get into that. I'm sure that a lot of people will find, you know, it very important to talk about some of those things. I heard the Archbishop speaking about, you know, certain aspects of the Carnival celebrations, and I'm not going to get into that either. But my main concern here is about protection, about preparation, and about prevention, not judgment. All right. So our focus is simple. How can we enjoy Carnival while avoiding drug-related problems? Because this program is about drug addiction, and that's why I'm staying with that particular perspective. So whether you are a masquerader, a feta, as we call them, you're going to fetes and so on. You're not playing mass, but you're going to fetes. You're a visitor. We have a lot of visitors at this time. Or you're a parent who's sending your child out there, or your children are going out there. Whether at every stage of your life, once you have children, once you're alive, you're a parent. And I can tell you, even at my age, I worry about my children still because they are part of me. So, or even if you are someone in recovery, especially if you are someone in recovery, there's a lot of people who relapse around this time. They would have been doing quite well all through the year, but because Carnival was such a big trigger for them, They look at the television and they see everybody, you know, enjoying themselves and so on. And of course, with a drink in their hand and all of that. And those things can actually trigger you. And I will speak a little bit about that because there are things in place now to help the population deal with that. So this conversation really is for every one of you. Every Trinidadian and Tobagonian can, I'm sure, relate to what we'll be talking about this morning. First, I want for us to understand the risks associated with the carnival environment. Carnival creates a perfect storm for risk factors. That is, you have crowds. My grandmother used to say, if you have one bracelet at your hand, it will not make any noise. But if you have a full hand, a churia, they call it, of bracelets, every time your hand is shake, you're going to have noise. So crowds, while they enhance the ability for people to enjoy themselves because we are not isolated. We don't like to be isolated. That's human nature. But in crowds, there's additional risks. So you're going to have crowds, and then you have heat and dehydration. The weather these days have been extremely hot in Trinidad. And when you add other factors to that, dehydration becomes a very, very serious issue around Carnival time. Now, I know that a lot of Trinidadians would rather we don't have rain, because I remember in the days of Kitchener, he's singing a road march about the rainorama. We don't want rain to spoil the celebrations, and damage the costumes and all of that, the portrayals that took so many months to prepare. Then there's loud music and a sensory overload. Too many things you're having to deal with at the same time. The music and the dance and the crowds and the portrayal and all that goes with it. And then, of course, there's peer pressure, especially among the young. Not only, and everybody want to outdo everybody else in terms of how they dance and how much they drink, and and the bands are facilitating this. When you pay all inclusive now, is any amount of drink and any amount of food, and there's excess in every regard. So the availability of alcohol is a critical element, because especially for people in recovery. And as I say this, if you are in recovery, you need to seriously ask yourself, whether you need to put yourself at risk by finding yourself in a milieu. You you may be safer in a safe place in good company, even though you look at it, and the good thing about television is that they keep recording it, and you can look at it in your own time. It's on YouTube. It's in several places where you can sit in a safe place and look at it. If you want to be in the milieu, then there are additional precautions you'll have to take if you're a person in recovery. So that availability is one of the main causes that people in recovery relapse. And I dare say for people, if you don't have it, you can't use it. So availability is always one of the fundamentals of drug use. Then there's the peer pressure. And in addition, you have long hours with very little sleep. If you really played mass, I'm sure people who playing mass would be aware of this. You're going to fete in the night, and then you have to get up, sometimes no sleep at all, because you have to be in the band, the mass camp, to collect your costume, and these the people who manage these mass bands, they employ security, they employ people, managers to make sure the band has to leave on time because there's a schedule. There's a whole question of timing. If you don't get to the Queen's Park Savannah or the stadium where you have to be at a certain time, you're going to run a big risk of not even being able to cross the stages. So you have long hours of fetting and drinking and not sleeping and I can tell you when I don't sleep well, I'm very irritable the next day. I know that. And I dare say a lot of people are similar, and that could lead to impatience and arrogance and aggression sometimes. So in this environment, judgment is impaired. You where you'd normally be patient and tolerant, under normal circumstances. Imagine you ain't sleeping well, you're under the influence, and somebody come and touch your girlfriend in the band. I mean, they think it's a free for all, and everybody could whine on everybody else. And you know what can happen. Sometimes it is a person might find it difficult to exercise restraint and judgment in a situation like that. So impulses are also heightened. There's also risk-taking behavior that increases because the whole purpose of drinking and mood-altering substances is so that people feel empowered. The guy who is introverted or the girl who's introverted and restricted all the time and has to be on her P's and Q's and so on. For Carnival, one expects that you should be able to free up. That's the whole purpose of it. Drink and free up. And in that freeing up, a lot of, risk taking is increased. And when you add drugs to this mix, the danger multiplies because you don't know what is, even the bands. I understand some bands, they have people in the band who have other little pouches where they're carrying little things and they pass it around. So the key message here is that most Carnival drug-related problems are not planned. People don't plan to go and get drunk and get into trouble. They plan to have a good time. So it is basically impulsive. They are impulsive decisions made in high stimulation environments. And then you sit back and wonder, how did I get myself into this? And as I said earlier on, you know, one thing can happen. Imagine a girl go and get herself pregnant, or get into a fight, or got jailed. You come to visit and you got arrested for 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 drug use. Then you can't go back to where you came from, and then you lose your job there, and you lose your reputation, and there's a whole lot. I don't mean to sound like a prophet of doom, but you can think about it. I mean, that's why we have imagination. So prevention starts with awareness. You need to be aware of the environment, the risk of yourself, of what can happen, and all of that. And then there's the legal reality in Trinidad and Tobago. Let's be very clear. Although it is Carnival, they don't suspend the laws. All the other laws are still in place. The traffic laws, you can't drive into Port of Spain in certain areas. There are restrictions. Even in Chaguanas, where I am, the streets is made a one way, and you can't park in certain places or you can't drive in certain places. And especially illegal drugs remain illegal, not because it's Carnival, is that that the illegal drugs become okay to use. So possession, use, or distribution can lead to arrest. And if you get arrested Carnival Monday or Carnival Sunday or even Saturday before Carnival, you're not going to get bail until maybe Wednesday. You're going to see the whole of Carnival in some jail cell. You understand? Because they don't bring charge cases. I used to work in the court, I can tell you. If you are charged Friday night, for instance, Friday evening after 4 o'clock, you and arrested, you have to stay until maybe Wednesday morning before bail is fixed. You understand? So possession, use, or distributions can still lead to arrest. Criminal records follow you long after Carnival, you know. If you get arrested and convicted for a criminal offense, and drug use is a criminal offense, it's not a traffic offense. When after that, if you have to get a certificate of good character, you're going to be in problems because this could follow you for the rest of your life. Even substances people think are party drugs, you know, often contain unknown chemicals. So you don't know these drugs were not tested on human beings and written about and prescribed. When you take these, if you're taking a drug that was prescribed for one as a medication for some other use and you want to use it, you know, it's a stimulant, you're using it for Carnival or you're using a anti-anxiolytic or anything, that was not tested in conjunction with alcohol and all of those things. So nobody could predict what the final outcome would be when you take that drug. And sometimes these drugs are mixed with stronger substances. You know, I have worked in this field for a long time and I know. And, you know, when I reflect on some of the things that people do to make money, there was a report at one time where a man selling snow cone outside of a junior secondary school was mixing cocaine in the syrup. And the children were getting hooked. And everybody only wanted to go and buy his snow cone. They never realized what was happening. So the same thing happened for Carnival and other fetes and so on. People have these little pills that they pass around, you know, and they approach people to buy it and they sell it for real money. So that some of these things have, as I said, unknown chemicals. They are mixed with stronger substances and are far more potent than expected. So that one pill, one line, one try, this is all it takes to turn a celebration into a tragedy. Because especially if you are not used to taking drugs, you will be more vulnerable. You know, a little bit of alcohol will, if you never drank alcohol before, one beer, two beers, and you could get drunk. Same thing go with the other drugs. So that a person under the influence and then taking some other pill on the side, they can overdose without even realizing it. You understand? So that if you are unsure about a substance, don't take it. Don't take it. The safest choice is abstinence. At least you know yourself. Right? Now you have the responsibility to for whatever you put in your system, you know. People, well, yeah, there might be a small amount of people who inject themselves, but it is very rare that somebody else will inject you with a drug. Usually you take it either orally, you take it orally, or you smoke it, you know, but it is basically you agreeing to take a drug, but sometimes you could be misled into believing it is safe when it is not. So that coming back to in a real situation, alcohol is the most normalized drug for Carnival. I mean, people sing about it. You have all these chutney singers who rum till I die and all kind of thing. And you know, from ever since my childhood days, I've been hearing some calypso will come out or some song will come out about, you know, the effect of drinking and drunk and disorderly. You all will remember that. And Carnival seem to be in somehow intertwined with drinking and you know, alcohol and all of that. And as I say that, I want to remind our population that it would be a crime to go into the city or any designated area for Carnival with glass bottles. If you're found with it, you will be charged. You understand? And the fine, I understand, is $1,000. That way, with a few bottles, you could get yourself into serious, serious debt. So that, again, the problem with alcohol is that alcohol is legal. But I also want to say categorically, alcohol is, while it is legal, it is a drug. Alcohol is a drug. People don't regard it like that. They see it as a food, but it's not a food, it's a drug. Alcohol, sufficient of it could kill you, could poison your system. So that you need to remember that. Now, during Carnival, alcohol causes more harm than most illegal substances till now. I don't know in future how this is going to turn out because I know they decriminalized marijuana and a lot of people have interpreted that to mean, well, it's okay to go ahead and use it, but let's talk a little bit about alcohol because that's the one that is mostly used, beers and rum and scotch and you name it, because it lowers inhibition. And that's one of the main reasons people use it, because they want to free up. In fact, in my drinking days, that's one of the reasons I use it. Because if I didn't take a few drinks, I couldn't go ask the girl to dance. Or I couldn't dance when the salsa was playing. You understand? I will feel very self-conscious. So it lowers inhibition. And that's one of the perceived benefit of it. It increases aggression at the same time, though, because most people in weddings and in fetes and so on, you find who get into fight. Either one of the party to the fight was inebriated, was drunk, or was influenced by alcohol. Now, it also masks overdose symptoms. Alcohol can, you will not know if a person is drunk from alcohol or from pills if they're lying down there on the pavement. You think they say, oh boy, he's having a good time, and you have his mask on. You can't even see if he's dying behind there. People just accept, well, that's how it is, they just smile and pass. That time the person is probably dying on the ground. There's also the whole question of dehydration. Alcohol dehydrates, it makes you sweat a lot. You're jumping up all morning, all day. The sun is hot. You're drinking beers. Alcohol is not water. And it increases vulnerability to exploitation. How many people were drunk, girls in particular, because let me say this, girls are not able to metabolize, generally, they are not able to metabolize alcohol as efficiently as boys or men, women and men. Women's body are not able, although there are few women who have been drinking for a long time who could really drink some men under the table, as they say, because they have developed tolerance. But generally, women are not, their bodies are not able to handle as much alcohol. And it is a known fact that a lot of men, they use alcohol, get girls drunk, and then exploit them, sexually exploit them. And next thing you know, girls are in trouble. Their whole life is is being derailed. So mixing alcohol with drugs dramatically increases overdose risk. And not only for Carnival, I speak about this all the time because there's a lot of people who they're stressed out, they're depressed, they're anxious, they go to the psychiatrist, they are put on sedatives because they're having trouble to sleep because of the stress. But then after a little while, they develop tolerance and they start supplementing the drug with the alcohol. But the people who ever made these pills, they never tested it with people who were inebriated, who were drunk. So you don't know. And when you're already drunk, you don't know if you took one pill or two or three, or if you just took one, you didn't remember, you take the next one. So the overdose is very, very easy to happen. Then you have people who suffer with heat strokes for Carnival because of dehydration. And then there could be a loss of consciousness. And when you think the person drunk, that time they're lying down there unconscious. They really need emergency attention. And of course, there's the whole question of accidents because of alcohol use. And that doesn't happen only at Carnival, but it peaks at Carnival. There are people who go to feds, drink, they're coming down the road and they drop asleep. And I lost a very, very valuable relative like that once in the past because of this same situation. So some of the key precautions, even if now, as I said in this program several times, this program is not about stopping people from drinking. If you can take a drink and enjoy it, we have no problem with that. The station has no problem with that. Although I respect the principle of this media house in that they don't advertise alcohol and cigarettes and so on. And they have my greatest admiration for that. But for people who are drinking, pace your drink. Don't just gobble down because a lot of alcoholics do this. They want to get drunk. They want to get drunk and they want to get drunk like yesterday. So they gulp their drinks. So that for social drinkers, pace your drink. You have a drink, pace it out so that you don't really, you feel euphoric, but you don't get drunk to the state where you're unconscious. And alternate your alcohol use with water. Okay, you drink a beer, but you drink water after and so on. I'm not really teaching people. Well, yes, I'm teaching people how to drink responsibly. Eat before and during events. Food will help to prevent the alcohol from spiking. Just like in diabetics, salads and so on prevent the sugars from spiking. So too, if you eat before and during events, you can slow the spike of the alcohol and getting drunk. So for God's sake, avoid drinking competitions and resist pressure to drink. Because some people, I have heard about people who, take the challenge that they could drink a flask of punching rum in one go. And what happened? Yes, the person drank it and then they fell right there and they dropped dead. So do not, because no one knows exactly how much alcohol anyone could drink. And don't test yourself. And don't give in to pressure. You don't want to, you say you don't want, and I'm talking to other people. If a person tell you, look, I don't want, no, it's all right now, I don't want to take a drink. Don't pressure them. But you see, there's a saying, misery likes company. People who drinking, they don't like to see someone not drinking. They feel you're not having a good time. So come now, man, take a drink, warm. You're afraid your wife, they'll tell you all kind of insulting things just to goad you on to go and drink. But please don't resist to that kind of pressure. Then, if alcohol is controlling you, you no longer have control. You understand? I'm going to say that again. If alcohol is controlling you, then you have no control. It's time for you to stop. So again, crowded carnival environments increase the risk of drink spiking. When, and a lot of times you sit down there, especially, it's a gentlemanly thing to do. So the girl sits, she goes out with the boyfriend and she remains sitting and he goes and brings the drink. But he has plans for later. So he puts things in your drink. And I'm saying this pointedly because it happened over and over. And we have had instances where girls end up abandon Carnage. They wake up in Carnage not knowing where they are the next morning, Juve morning or Ash Wednesday morning. And then there's drug tampering, where people adulterate the drug, they put other things. And then there's, of course, exploitation. All of these things happen because of the carnival environment. So precautions everyone should follow are as follows. Never leave your drink unattended. there's a tendency, well, we can't jump up with the glass with the alcohol, so we put it down and we go and take a wine and come back, as they say. You don't know who put what in your glass after that, especially if somebody wants to exploit you. They will adulterate your drink with something. They have little pills that can put you, that will send you clear out of your mind and you will never know. Maybe 2, 3 days, you won't even know where you are and what is happening. So never leave your drink unattended. Do not accept drinks from strangers. You know, watch drinks being opened or poured, especially if you're a person in recovery. You know, because a person who is not in recovery, they don't see the danger in it. They feel, oh gosh, man, and for them it's fun. I could put a little bit of drink. He ain't gonna know. You understand? And as I said that, this is why God has put our nose right above our mouth, so we could smell what we're drinking. And if you don't smell good, then the next thing is you don't let it go any further. You just leave it right there. You know, if your drink tastes strange, discard it immediately. You understand? Now, sudden symptoms, and these are things that you need to look out for. Dizziness is one of them. You take a drink and all of a sudden you're feeling dizzy, you're feeling sleepy, you're feeling confused. All of these are red flags. Extreme drowsiness. I mean, why are you feeling sleepy, or why your friend, and this is why you need to be in groups, and you can designate other people to keep an eye on you. It's not like you can't take care of yourself, but knowing that these things can happen, you have to ask people to look out for you, and you need to look out for others as well. A loss of coordination. So somebody came with us, good from home, and all of a sudden he seemed like he can't walk properly, he's drowsy, he want to sleep. Something is wrong. That is not normal. So there's what you call a body system, for community as a protection. Carnival safety is not an individual effort. It is a group responsibility. And I know a lot of people do that. They move in groups, they move in families and so on, and they look out for one another and so on. But you have the odd person who is out there alone. And these predators, they're able to identify you in a few seconds. They watch where you are, how you're hanging out and all kind of, and they know you're alone and you would become targeted. So what you need to do, if you came with a group, check in with each other regularly. Make sure you are with the group and you didn't stray, and check in with the other people, how they are and what's going on. Set meeting points. In the case, you drift away from each other, while you're still a group, decide, look, if any one of us stray, we'll meet by the lighthouse, or we'll meet here, or we'll meet there. You understand? Or by this store, by this point. So that leave together when possible. We came together, don't leave anybody. Make sure, but I understand the difficulty. Some people know enjoying themselves. Oh gosh, they want to go home already because you have that problem. But try, and you came together and you have that discipline. You all should discuss that before. Look, we're going and we're leaving at this time. Because when you go and you have a few drinks in your head and you meet some partners and things, sometimes, you don't want to leave. Now, have at least one sober or low intoxication person to drive if you all are driving. Because I can tell you, the police are out there checking since before Carnival for your stickers and for your inspection and for your tail light. And they will not be on holiday for Carnival. You're going to have additional police officers coming out on duty just for Carnival. And you could run yourself into trouble if you go and, drink and get drunk, and they have spot check, and they only have to look at you, and they'll know. So that you also have to have responsible decision makers in the group. And then you yourself need to have information on you in your wallet or something, in the event that something happened, your blood group information, contact information of your next of kin, so that even if you fall down, if you were alone and strangers come and pick you up, they will know who to contact. They will know where to call. The health professionals will have an idea. If you had, let's suppose, if you have stents put in and you on blood thinners and all them kind of thing, all of these information is necessary if they have to treat you in an emergency. So that you need to have, you know, always pair off with a friend and make sure you're looking at each other, one friend paying attention to the other, so you could prevent disaster and prevent a lot of situations. Sometimes you might be inebriated and get into an argument with someone and you can be, hurt or injured. But you have a friend who would come and mediate quickly. Hey, hey, you will break this up. Then transportation and decision making. Many drug-related incidents happen after the fact because some people now waiting for taxi or waiting for transport. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you have some private people trying to make extra money, but some of them are really predators and they see an opportunity to take advantage, and they do. So, pre-arranged transportation, to my mind, is critical. If you don't have your own car, and because you can't drive into the city now, most of the time you'll have to probably walk out to the edge and have a car come in at a predestined area and time, pick you up or pick up the group. Use licensed taxis or trusted drivers. Don't go and jump in a PH car that you don't know. You know, do not enter vehicles while impaired. If you're drunk, you shouldn't really be going in traveling in a vehicle, entering a vehicle that you don't know the people and so on. Never drive under the influence. Well, for obvious reasons. I discussed those already. If someone is intoxicated, take the keys. It's all right if they vex, whatever, but take the keys from them, because if you care about them, don't allow a friend to drive under the influence, especially if you're going to be in the car with them, because they will kill themselves and kill you as well. Again, arrange safe transport and stay with a person until they are safe. If a person is too drunk to drive, find some other alternative. Check into a hotel if you can. I don't know. But the prevention is better than cure. Don't ever drink. Keep looking at it. If a person look like they want too many, that's enough time to stop. Hey, time to get out of here. The goal is not just to reach the party, but the goal should be to get back home alive. A lot of people only, plan how to get there, but they don't really so much consider. And sometimes you make some very loose arrangements with friends. You make arrangement with a friend. All right, I met him in the party. He said, okay, he'll drop me home. Don't worry, you go ahead. I have somebody will drop me. But that other somebody has other plans and or continues to drink until they get drunk. Now you are stuck with them. So these loose arrangements are deadly. In terms of recognizing overdose and medical emergencies, I want to share a few tips about that. Everyone should know the warning signs. Danger signs of overdose includes difficulty breathing, right? Difficulty breathing is a sign of so many other things, but it is also a sign of overdose where the system now is under stress. Seizures, alcoholic seizures, rum fits they call them. These are also a sign of overdose seizures. If you see the skin turning blue or pale, that is a critical sign. That there's a loss in circulation, that the circulatory system is impaired. Then, of course, a loss of consciousness. Now, that one especially could easily be confused into, well, he just high. He just need to rest off. But the person could be unconscious or extreme agitation or confusion. Some people just start behaving And you think because they're drunk, but they're just tripped, and they can be a danger to themselves and others. There will be those who are hallucinating because they've been drinking over the last few days, and now they're in such extreme withdrawal that they're seeing and hearing things that are not there. And these people could be a danger to themselves in that they could suffer cardiac arrest because of the fear, or they can injure some other people. So in cases of that, call emergency services immediately. The ambulances, the Red Cross, the fire department, all have ambulances on full alert around this time. And do not leave the person alone at that time. Keep them hydrated if they are conscious. But if they are unconscious, don't try to force things down their throat because they could suffocate and die. Always turn an unconscious person on the side. Don't have them lying on their back or on their face. You understand? Especially on their back, because they can asphyxiate. They can vomit and swallow the vomit and choke on it. In these situations, time saves lives. Time is of a critical element here. Delaying help can be fatal. I know I'm saying some very serious things, but this is reality. So that some special considerations, especially for youth and visitors and people in recovery. Now, young people, at this time, you find peer pressure is intense. Friends encouraging you, go ask a girl to dance, or go and dance with a girl, or go and take this or take that, to get brave. So peer pressure is intense at this time, even from adults to adults. Education and supervision is very important for parents and for caregivers and people, who are in groups and bands and so on. Parents need to speak early and honestly about these things with their children. Don't wait till after the fact. And for visitors, I want to especially say a word of caution. Laws may differ from where you come from your home country to here, right? Find out, because in some places you're allowed to smoke marijuana like it's nobody's business, or do certain things, but here you may not be able to do that. In other places you might be able to have glass bottles. Here you're not able to have that. You understand? So please, you're visiting, you want to enjoy yourself, understand the laws here, and then cultural excitement can lead to poor decision making for visitors, because you don't know the place, you don't have friends, you don't have a support system here. You might have come with friends, but you don't know the geography of Port of Spain, and you miss out from your friend, and then you can't find yourself away, and you become a target. You understand? No emergency numbers and locations. As a visitor, especially, have the number of your embassy, have the number of your home embassy, have the local numbers for emergency and so on that you could call if you need assistance. You understand? People in recovery, especially, Carnival can be a trigger. I know a very good friend of mine who was 5 years sober, but then relapsed because he took a Guinness for Carnival. And that started a next round of suffering. So for this Carnival, as I say, the Northern Intergroup of Alcoholics Anonymous has organized an Alcathon meeting. They do this every year. On Carnival Monday from 12, go right on until about 12 in the night at the Arangways school. I think it's the Presbyterian school off the main road on Mary Street. So people in recovery, it would do you well. It is a safe choice to go to an Alcathon or marathon meeting. I know Central Intergroup also has one on Carnival Monday from 12 until they say at this Central Intergroup Annex at Riverlet Road in Cuba, California. And then Southern Intergroup has one, I think, on Saturday night. These Alcathons keep you in good company in a safe place and help you to stay sober and not feel sorry for yourself. Now, if you happen to find yourself in a party and you're not comfortable there with the drinking and all of that, have an exit plan. Attend parties and so on if you have to with supportive friends. Avoid high-risk environments if necessary. because recovery is strength, not weakness. If you make these decisions, don't worry what people say or what they will say. You understand? So while Carnival is about freedom, freedom without responsibility becomes danger. So to avoid drug-related problems, please, as I know the risks, if you missed out anything, go back and listen to the program, go on YouTube, review it, respect the law, protect your body, look out for each other, and ask for help if you think it is necessary. You do not need drugs to enjoy Carnival. I have not been using drugs for the last 42 years, and I watch on TV, and I know what it is to have a good time. The music, the people, the culture, that is already intoxicating you. I need to drink to enjoy it. So again, in closing, I want to say, let's celebrate safely. Not only Carnival, we have Christmas, we have Easter, we have all these other holidays that come up from time to time in Trinidad and Tobago. And I know, yes, I have born and grew up and lived in this culture, and I know that we Trinidadians seem to think that we can't have a good time unless we drink. Or we also think so for others as well, that if they're not drinking, they're not having a good time. But that's not true. I have proved that to myself that you could have a good time without drinking. So let's celebrate safely, let's celebrate responsibly, and let's celebrate and live to tell this story. So I want to thank you all for listening. And I want to remind you this program is going to be posted on YouTube and Facebook in a few minutes. It will also be replayed on radio and TV Jagriti at 10 p.m. tonight. So if you're interested and you have the time, you can look at it. And if you have any questions, you can call me at 671-3040, or you can text me at 768-5925, and I will be happy to respond to them. And I also want to thank Radio and TV Jagriti for carrying this program live at this time, and to thank the staff in the back who, week after week, put this program together, and they provide free airtime as a public service. I want to thank the Mahasabha board, Mr. Vijay Maharaj in particular, for the principal position they have taken when it comes to advertisement for alcohol and cigarettes and all these things that are not good for you. The energy drinks and all of that. I know they forego a lot of revenue as a result of that. But this is what responsible corporate citizens need to do. It's a good example for people to follow, because at the end of the day, the drug problem does not only affect the drug users, it affects the entire country. If you look around, you will see. From my childhood days to now, in my childhood days, people would leave their home without the door locked. And they'll tell the neighbor, you keep an eye, and they go to the garden for the whole day. And they had no fear of losing anything. They had some houses, the Karat houses, didn't even have windows and so on. They had a bag hanging there. And nobody went and stole anything from anyone else. Today, we are living in self-imposed imprisonment in this country because of the drug problem. Because the minute a drug addict, a person who's addicted, see an opportunity to pick up your broom or your rake or anything you left outside, they're going with it. And indeed, they're coming inside. And we know how organized crime has become involved in the drug trade and drug distribution, so that it is very, very refreshing sometimes when corporate citizens, show that level of responsibility to help, to reach out and help. So I want to thank you all for listening as well. And please send this link to someone who you think could benefit, because alcoholism and drug addiction are diseases of denial. And usually the persons who are addicted, they are in denial. They don't believe they have a problem. But if you send the information, they may rebel, they may react to it. But once they listen, it is really planting a seed so that someday they will remember there was a Mr. Dwarika who was saying this, and there are places you could go and get help. And it will eventually happen. So I want to thank you all again for listening, and all those people who send their comments and the support. My everlasting gratitude to them. And again, this program is weekly on radio and TV Jagriti at 9 a.m. on Thursday. So see you next week, Thursday. And thank you all for listening so far.